Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Time goes by so fast. I can't believe it's already been a week in radio drop time.
A week.
It seems like a long time since we've had coffee. Let me put it that way.
It does. So I was looking forward to getting back. I'm just.
Were you missing the coffee or were you missing me?
Oh, man, I'm missing you. I'm missing the ability to plug in and just do check-ins with you, see how you're doing. And you know what's funny is periodically, like I load up our social media stuff on Wednesday, and I've noticed I normally did it at 4 a.m. and now this week I did it like 3 p.m. because it's just
3 p.m.
Yeah, dude, I'm sorry, man.
Goodness,
Put me on.
What happened?
Behavioral improvement plans.
Yeah, right.
But there's times like when I load, like the episode starts playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
While I'm doing all the social media, so I'm listening to the episode in the background. And dude, I tell you what. I guess in real time,
mm-hmm.
Sometimes you sit there and think about, kind of like the lining up, right? And
sure.
how things are going to roll out in the show.
Right.
And so I miss some of the gems that you lay out some shit that is just absolutely hilarious.
Does any of what I say make sense, though?
It totally makes sense, and it's hilarious. I
could lay out a lot of shit.
So now I know when somebody chimed in a while ago, a couple people chimed in, they're like, Mike's the funny one. And I'm like, man, I get it. It's just hilarious. And it's not just – so there's two lobs that you lob in. One is kind of like sarcastic, funny, right? Way to look at something. Mm-hmm. And then the next lob is like a sober gem, like a sober gold titanium nugget that we could almost do a segment off of those like 6 words that you impose into the convo. And I'm like, man, I'm sitting at this table with a genius. And then there's you, Mike, too. I'm talking about Brian over here in the background.
Right.
So I was just like, man, what a privilege,
Well, you know what's so I appreciate that. You know what's so funny is I took notes probably my first 1,000 meetings in AA.
So I remember.
Yes.
So I remember that, and not. I'm going to say something controversial.
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
You are the only note taker that I've ever seen make it. And typically, in my mind, and I shouldn't say this, man, because people, people should do whatever they want to do.
Right.
But you've been to enough meetings, you start to get some patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I've known is the people that take notes,
mm-hmm.
it is a cerebral event for them. It's not a heart event. So they're in the scholastic education. Let me learn. Let me document. Let me notate, and they succeed, but it never gets to the point of a heart of change.
I think the differentiator is, what do you do with those notes? Because you're right, there's so much coming at me in 60 minutes from the beginning when they read how it works.
Well, maybe that's why you're so advanced.
Well, I'm advanced at something.
You have 50 years of AA in 6 years.
Right? So I write
maybe
these
this is
things
maybe
down.
This is the secret.
But then I have to look at them later in the day.
See, that's...
And say, that's when it goes from my head to my
heart.
So
do you meditate and reflect on them?
Not in a structured way, but absolutely.
Not the Zen, yoga, legs crossed way.
Right. But absolutely
so
I do.
I'll bet you that because I never thought of that. I would say most people, I don't know. I just think they try to be students. And I'm saying that because I did it when I was in rehab. I take my notepad and like for a couple of days, I'm like, I'm getting nothing out of this. Right? Because all you're doing is
trying to
document
notes. Right.
So I don't know. I have always wanted to tell you that you were the only note taker that has stuck around.
But a lot happens in 30-minute chunks in life. Quick little conversations, and if I don't capture those moments somehow, some way, but to your opening comments, I mean, there is a lot that goes on when we have these guests on. They're the ones with the nuggets, and if you just listen, they might throw 2 or 3 of them together and then not say another one for 8 minutes, and then boom,
we're out of nuggets, aren't we? So that's why we need
pretty
guests.
much we're out of nuggets.
That's why
we've run out of our nuggets.
Guests. So what? Going back to your notes, my secret of how I absorb things.
Excuse me.
You okay?
I'll be all right.
Should we,
I got coffee now.
Brian, should we stop?
No, we're good.
What got it for me was repetition.
Okay.
Going back to meetings and over and hearing the same. I remember early on, like, oh my God, I got to listen to that story again.
But it worked.
But it's the repetition.
Right.
Repetition's the mother of all knowledge.
Yeah. Well, that's your alternative to taking the notes and studying them, which is what I did.
So I've always wanted to share that with you, But you have clearly found some way to get from your head to your heart to your living.
Oh my goodness!
And
I'm so grateful for that.
Oh my God, it's just great. So, but I do when I sit there and watch note takers, I'm like, short lived.
Yeah,
I'm terrible. I'm terrible. Oh my gosh.
And there's not many around though. There's not many note takers around.
No.
Because it's kind of awkward. I realized after about 50 meetings in, I'm like, hey, I'm the only one doing this. Like, I didn't care the first 50 times. And then after day 51, I was like self-conscious about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I thought it was okay. And then I'm like, how come no one else does this? Look at all this good information in this hour.
Yeah.
Why is no one else taking notes? But they're doing what you do, which is just keep coming back and repetition.
No, that's great, man.
Makes sense.
No,
Makes
that's great. So I guess that's just a way to say good morning.
Well, good morning to you, too.
Good morning, good evening, good night.
How do you like that? Thank you for joining us.
I know. So we posted something. Man, I got this hair on the mic that's like the fuzz. Details, man. Just details.
Yeah, details.
I'm high maintenance. So you sent me something this week that was absolutely hilarious. First of all, we love hearing from folks. Look at Brian. Brian's a guy on the spot, the engineer on the spot. You see it, Brian?
Got scissors right next to my co-host's neck.
Nice, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You got my neck, Brian. And you said, we love hearing from folks, right? Mm-hmm. But I've had people, reach out and they're like, hey, man, I want to stay anonymous, right? So it's the whole Alcoholic Anonymous thing.
Well, that's why we don't get reviews.
Yeah, we don't hear from reviews. A lot of people because like their social media, like their internet name or whatever gets logged, right? Publicly and a lot. But we love hearing from people. Our email is podcast@Sober.Coffee.
Yeah.
I think some people are still trying to figure out the .coffee.com.
Yeah, we should probably.
Who figured that out, man?
I don't know.
God.
I thought it was genius at the time.
I thought it was like, hey, well, plus it was $1.99 for the website versus
there you go
versus $5,000. So sometimes excellence is thrust upon you. But you sent me this picture, and you had some funny stuff. You're like Joe Rogan, worth $33 million.
Yeah, right.
And you list like 8 podcasts, right? All in the multi millions. There's one that's like 13 million each, and there's 3 of them, right? So that's 40 million, right? And then at the very bottom, you go, Mike and Glenn, Sober.Coffee, $0.0
million.
Zero. And it's funny because I posted that on Instagram, and we heard from people, right? We heard from people, and it's funny. It's like you know what? That's what makes you guys great. It's all real. It's not about the money. It's all real. And then one guy was really gracious. He's like, hey man, he goes, you guys, you guys might be zero, but you're worth millions or something like that. Man, it was just cool. It's kind of a thankless job sometimes. You come in here and you don't hear a lot from people, and all the numbers are wrong.
Yes.
We think
we know.
Brian says they're right, but who knows, man? It's kind of a thing. But I love doing this. We contracted for another year. I mean, we're in our 4th year.
Okay.
Right?
I've lost track.
No, we are in our 4th year.
In our 4th year.
Right,
okay.
Brian?
What do you think, Brian? Yeah, in our 4th year?
Yeah, it's 2021.
Okay.
Right?
Well. I don't know.
I think.
I take it week by week.
I know, that's awesome. We got 200 some episodes with all the bonuses. We used to do
We
bonus
used to do a lot of bonus drops.
I know.
yeah.
Why don't we do those anymore?
I don't know.
Budget?
No, we never discussed it. We just stopped doing it.
We don't even talk about budget.
We don't have strategy meetings. We don't. This is just a mishap,
God,
mismanaged.
man, we used to be so organized. Remember, we used to do it from flip charts and all the
yes.
and we used to have like an Excel spreadsheet, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God! Now it's like, what are we talking about today?
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today?
There it is, man. There it is.
7th.
Coming
So
up on 4 years.
actually, the way these things drop, that's pretty close. So we could say happy anniversary to ourselves.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, going into our 5th year now.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Holy smokes, Brian! Who would have thought, man? Brian put this ad out there. Well, first of all, you and I'm like, hey, I'll just do this in my basement office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I pulled up a Google article on how to set up a podcast studio, right? When they talking about all these reverbs and all these
Mm-hmm.
technical terms, and I looked on Amazon, and I actually think I bought a microphone, or we bought two microphones.
I bought a microphone too.
Yeah, it's still sitting on my shelf, never plugged in, never used. And I'm like, this is too complicated. So Brian had this ad out there. Hey, your first podcast is free. So it was one of those guys. I mean, I actually filled out the form and I actually got a call.
Yeah.
I mean, most of those internet forms you fill out today, nobody calls. And Brian called, really cool. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, go in, let's figure it out.
Well,
Here we are.
I got a good topic for today then. Right?
Yeah,
Let's talk about consistency.
All right.
Because you told me early on, if we want this thing to work, we need to keep producing. You need to be consistent. And you said that's the apple.
That's the secret.
That's it.
That's
the apple in the pie.
So-
It's be consistent. Put out product repeatedly. When you say, do what you say you're going to do.
well, at least we did that right.
Yeah, right.
So our research early on, I went to Google and like, how do you build a successful podcast? And we're in like the top 10% of podcasts. And the only reason is we're still around, right? Mm-hmm. We're consistent. And most podcasts, right, they come up with, just like anybody else in life. I was like, for example, I know this woman, great woman, just an amazing, great woman. She's got a lot going on, too much going on. It's kind of like, a machine gun, just shooting at every next idea and not delivering any of them. And she's like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast. So she's doing the research. I'm like, do yourself a favor. Call Brian. Just focus on the content, not the technology. Right? Focus on what you're delivering. And she never got launched. Right? Because it's just like, but a lot of people set everything up to do podcasts and they have 3 episodes.
Yeah, right.
Right? So one thing they said early on is consistency. Right? It's kind of like the AA program. You win when you're consistent.
Well,
right?
let's unpack that for a second. Because where else do you see consistency?
Let's unpack it.
Where else do you see consistency playing out well in your life? But can consistency be a bad thing too? Can consistency provide negative results?
Absolutely. I mean, consistency leads to habits.
Right.
And so habits. When you look at, I was consistently drinking. Right. And that led to addiction. And that led to hell. Right. So it's like progressive alcoholism, progressive recovery. Anytime you get anywhere takes consistency, either positive or negative, right? And when you see, let's unpack this. Where do you see consistency in your life? I think I'm winning in many areas today because of that one word,
right?
Not because, I was listening to Dr. Henry Cloud. He's a really cool dude. He's talks about recovery, talks about behavioral change, right? Talks about never go back. He's like a psychologist to CEOs, and he said, hey man, the way to win is, especially with like New Year's resolutions, right? People come on those. He's like, the way to win is to do a small step over and over and over and over again. Most people say, oh, I'm going to do a big step, right? And
like your lady friend who wanted to build a podcast.
Let me do this. Or
just get into the studio one time. Try that.
Losing weight, right? January 1st, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. All major big changes, big steps. He's like, you're better off cutting 200 calories a day.
Yeah.
Just 200 calories.
Yeah.
Cut out one donut, but cut it out forever. Do it every single day. And, when you just said that to me, and so let's look at our lives, right? When you wake up every morning, what do?
I consistently start my day with a routine.
Okay, which is what? Quiet time,
quiet
prayer,
time,
meditation, reading,
of
journaling.
Yep.
Use that J word, right?
Yeah,
You journal,
right.
And how many days do you miss?
I would say I probably misstep maybe 2 to 3 days a week.
So you
the weekends I get a little loose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I get a little loose on the weekends.
There is not a day. Well, I shouldn't say that. When I travel, I get a little loose.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm at home, I never miss.
Mm-hmm.
I am in my blue chair, 4:00 in the morning with my coffee. I mean, that is how I just start my day every single day I'm at home. When I'm traveling, I get a little loose because my schedule's hectic and I don't have a chair. Last hotel I stayed in was a
Start packing the blue chair.
piece of crap. I didn't want to even sit on the couch. It was such a crappy couch. I'm like, that's filthy. So it just throws my game off a little bit.
Right. Do you feel it then if you're not consistent with that?
It's funny. I
didn't
think about it till now, but yeah, it throws me off.
Yeah. Okay. So
morning
routine is a big thing. And then I would say, again, just a bookend, and there's probably some routines, some things I do. There are absolutely things I do consistently during the week, like check in with family every day. I mean, no matter what I'm doing, no matter how busy I am, I want to do a daughter check-in. I want to do a son check-in. I want to do a grandchild check-in. Some are going to be.
So you have 2 daughters and a son.
Three daughters, a son.
Why do you have 3? You have 3 daughters?
Well, one's in California. She's a hippie. She probably doesn't even have a last name.
She doesn't count?
Huh? She counts, absolutely.
All right,
She's
so you
a
have
rock
3
star.
daughters. I missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you have 3 daughters and a son, and you have 2 grandkids.
Two grandkids living with me, and 2 grandkids living outside my home.
Okay.
So they
4.
don't get my 1-year-old doesn't get a text yet.
They don't have a phone yet?
Mm-hmm. I don't slacker.
Okay, so you check in with family. What else? Job. Do you go to your job on a consistent
I do my
basis?
job on a consistent basis.
Okay.
And again...
It's funny how they're kind of like that, right?
Yeah, well, probably days where I shouldn't be going, don't want to be going, but that's what you do. I mean, I have a responsibility to that job to go do the job. If I don't want to do that, then I call off my responsibility and say I don't want to be employed anymore. I mean,
Okay, so let's take a time out. So I think a key to consistency is doing it whether you feel like it or not.
Right, absolutely.
I didn't feel like coming this morning.
No.
I was exhausted. I was up
yeah.
at 4:00 this morning. I slept like crap. I still only slept a couple hours. Not even good sleep, and I didn't feel like coming. And what goes through my brain is this going to be the first time I call off?
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, come on, man, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that brain of mine, of ours, just crazy. But I think the key to consistency is it doesn't matter whether you feel like it or not. Just do it.
Right.
Okay, so
because
family.
Yes.
Family.
Family.
So check in with family.
Check in with
job,
family, do my job.
morning routine. What else?
And then I kind of live the day. That's a routine.
Well,
of
you
mine.
do sobriety on a consistent basis.
I do sobriety on absolutely.
You go to meetings. You check
talk-
in with people.
Check in with my
you
peeps.
do podcasts.
Do some writings.
You do writings. Which are you going to get back?
Yeah,
to
I'm
doing that?
I'm gonna hop back on.
All right.
So yeah, probably by
wanna strike it?
by the time this airs,
You'll be back in the game.
you'll be back. You'll be seeing
All
things
right.
populated in the writings again.
So is this a pause, or were you on strike trying to get more money, or
yeah,
or-
well,
or what?
yeah, and there was no response.
Right.
So I guess I write for free.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thankless job, right?
Yeah, well, they're funny because yeah, that's right. We're gonna join forces together. I love it, Brian. The funny
great.
thing is, in the world, just a quick digression here, in the world of successful blogging, there are tricks and tips and tools and techniques you use. They want certain words to be used, right? No, I'm trying to make a point. I'm not trying to get more readers. I'm trying to elaborate on a point from my heart, and a consistent phrase, consistency, doesn't come through my heart on, every paragraph. I'm not a robot. And yes, I could use AI. Never have. And really, AI could do a much better job than me. I'll give it that. But it's cathartic for me, and I think it helps people, and it helps me, and so that's it on writing.
So I will admit I will admit something to you. I used ChatGPT this week for the first time in business. Mm-hmm. And I'm inviting some advisors to be on our advisory board for our company. Mm-hmm. And I was struggling, I was just trying to find the right words, struggling.
Right.
I'm like,
sure.
I'm going to go to ChatGPT.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you something, man.
It really delivered good product,
Oh, my God. It was like
sure.
Wall Street level.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Two sides to the coin is that. My grandson wanted a new monitor for his bedroom for his game, for his gaming system. And he requested it via text for me that I pitch in for this thing. So clearly written by AI.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it was 3 paragraphs of bliss that there was no way that he could write. So I go tiptoeing into his room. I go, hey, well written. He goes, hey, thank you. I go, how long did it take you to put that together? He said, not long. He said, AI? He said, absolutely. 12 years old. They got to figure it out.
Did you pay for it?
Yeah, he got his monitor.
There you go. So it worked, man. It worked.
All right, let's walk through your day. Consistency. What do you do?
Same thing. I do morning routine. I do sobriety. I do my work stuff very consistently. I have been on my eating plan for 4 months very consistently, lost 40 pounds.
Awesome.
Which changed my life.
Yeah.
It just changed how I feel.
You look great, by the way.
Thanks, man.
You really do.
I know I talked to an investor yesterday, and I haven't seen him for 3 months. He goes, Glenn, something about you has changed. He goes, man, you just look fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you. I said, I lost probably 30 pounds since I last saw you. He goes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
He goes, you just seem different. And I had somebody else pull me aside this week and say, man, you are just a different person these days. So that's cool. So,
okay, cool.
Family, definitely consistent.
Yeah.
The way I serve people, my serving is consistent.
You're relentlessly consistent.
And our men's group, just like this morning, I didn't feel like coming this morning, right? Our men's group, every single Monday night at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, coming to my house,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I can't. You
Yeah,
can't,
well,
you can't
that's
get
the
out of it when
thing.
it comes to your
You're
house.
host.
Yeah, but I build my life around
Right,
that,
yes.
right? So I call them guardrails or whatever, but I build a life that keeps me moving forward, even when I don't want to.
That's awesome.
And so I think that's one of them. I think family for me is amazing.
Yes.
I mean, that's just such a life power for me. I think my learning is consistent. Out there, I'm using these different learning apps and book condensers, right? So you can read a 200-page book in 15-minute summary, right? And what it does is it just pulls out the nuggets.
Yeah, right.
All right, it pulls out the Mikey nuggets. So I do that. I watch Kentucky basketball consistently. I hate sports. I think watching sports is a waste of time. But I watch every Kentucky basketball game.
Why is that? Why have you chosen that?
Because I think there's a couple reasons. Number one is it's where my daughter went to school.
There you go.
And
Does she watch it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then there you go.
And her husband watches it.
Okay.
Her husband went to Kentucky. And,
well, there you go.
And so it's a way for us to connect,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But, I mean, it's funny. I don't latch on to any other sport except for that. And I'm becoming...
Where's your other daughter go to school?
University of Missouri.
Okay.
Mizzou.
And don't they have sports teams or?
Yeah, but Kentucky crushes them.
Oh, ouch.
So, I mean, hey, it is what it is.
Makes Thanksgiving a little tough at your house.
Mizzou's got a better football team. Kentucky's got a better basketball team.
Okay.
But so I do that, and my evening routine is very
You're page
consistent.
86?
Yeah, page 86, and my sleep.
Yeah.
Not this week. It's been a tough week, but my sleep is something I'm very selfish about, very consistent about.
Right. The one thing about we both said about our consistency is that sometimes it wanes. Sometimes I think we use the word gets a little soft.
I think that's called life.
The fact is, get back on the horse.
Right.
Just don't let 1 day, 2 days take you off a pattern that has the proof of working miracles or tremendous results. Let's put it that way, and don't forego it just because you missed a couple days. No big deal. Get back on. Get back doing it.
And my sobriety's consistent.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
And man, if we don't have sobriety, we don't have anything.
No, it starts and ends with that.
So I think consistency is great, man. I think one of the keys is continue to do it whether you feel like it or not.
Right.
And just like podcast, right? The one thing early on podcast, it said don't miss an episode.
Right.
Hey Brian, you host a bunch of podcasts. How is their consistency compared to ours? Do they have similar levels? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. It's not a basement. This is high tech.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have a question for you. Do you, in your selection process, like, are you picky who you take on? Do you kind of get a sense, hey, this is kind of a hobby, stick it, because you have to do a lot of work to produce this. I mean, do you kind of gauge up front if somebody's serious or not, if somebody's just kind of sticking their toe in the water, you don't work with them? Yeah.
It's good news for us.
Right.
Right.
Do you charge a setup fee now? Yeah, I would totally do that.
Yeah.
That right there weeds dreamers from
doers.
Drivers, from doers. Yeah. That's cool, man. So I think consistent, going back to Dr. Henry Clow, doing small things consistently will beat doing big things sporadically.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's key.
I agree.
So I guess that's our topic, consistency.
That was it. Yep.
That was awesome. Love you,
Right,
brother, man.
Love you. See you next week.
I can't wait to listen and see what nuggets.
I guess we'll be here next week.
I want to hear some
Mr.
nuggets.
Consistency.
Let's be here next week.
All right. Sounds
see you,
good.
bro. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.